Welcome to Klein Farm Channel. Today I'm going to be cutting up a boneless pork loin to make pork chops and pork roast. This is one of the best things you can do. They're normally around $21, $22, maybe even sometimes up close to $30. But I'm going to show you this is a lot better than buying individual packs of pork chops, where a pack of 4 or a pack of 8 pork chops can cost as much as this entire loin, and you can have dinners for a whole month off of this loin. So here we go. This is a 12.5 pound pork loin. This was $33. 12.5 pounds, $2.68 a pound, so it was $33. So a little bit more than I thought it was, but when they're on sale, we get them around $22. But this is a bigger, pretty big loin though too. Now before I cut into it, I'm going to show you here. You see the darker area here? It goes about to right there. From here down would be like the pork roast section, and from here over would be pork chops. So the boneless pork chops you buy at the store, you buy at Walmart or any grocery store, are all cut out of this. I've worked at a lot of grocery stores in the meat department. I've worked at several butcher shops where you kill the live animal, do the whole thing. But the grocery store meat rooms all use these, and they go through a lot of them. I've cut thousands of these, and it's the most simple, easiest thing you can do. Whenever I was an assistant meat manager at the one store, and I trained people, and the boneless pork loin is the thing you always teach the brand new people who've never picked up a knife before. It's the easiest, most simplest thing you can do. So I'm showing you now. Save you some money. Be a great deal. Now it is gonna be messy when you cut the bag open. There's gonna be blood, so try to only cut open the top of it, and don't cut the bottom of it because it will leak blood everywhere. What I always did in the store, just poke one hole in the end and just run your finger the whole way across. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, you gotta hold on to it, but or you can just take the knife and very gently go across the whole thing. And this one is pretty big, so it's a little bit wider than my cutting board, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off here. But here, before I do that, I'm going to flip it over and show you the fatty side. Now, you can see where the fat's thicker at. Like in the stores, you would take and slice off the extra fat, and I'm going to do that here, but I don't cut as much fat off for me at home as I would in the store, because in the store they only want 1/8 of an inch of fat, which is barely anything. But at home I like having a little bit more fat on it, just because it makes the flavor better, and I like the fat. Fat's healthy. And on the fat side here, right there, you can see where the meat is a little darker at than there. I'm gonna go ahead and cut right here the whole way across, and cut that pork roast right off of the other. It's like right here. Then you can see I cut a little bit too far over into the pork chop area, so right here in the tail it has that darker red. And you can see right there how thick that fat is. And you don't want fat that thick on it. I personally wouldn't mind it, but you can't have fat that thick on it. So you want to very easily or gently reduce the fat level on it. So go down at about a 30 or 40 degree angle and cut right into the fat and get it like that. Then if you have a garden or anything, you can put the fat out in the garden. You'll make really good for compost. I wouldn't advise giving it all to your dog. You can give your dog a little bit, but if not, just throw it out. Because it ain't... You can do other things with it. Like you can make it into lard if you want to. But that's a whole big process, and you guys probably don't want to do that. But here. I'm going to cut one pork chop off the end of here. There. Now you can see in the tail how it's red like that. That's the beginning of the roast end. So you can have like that. You can also see how on this side the fat is like at 1/8 of an inch, but on this side of it has a whole lot more thicker fat on it, because the fat isn't uniform on top. Like it has real thick areas, then it has like areas where it's down to the bare meat. That all depends on the slaughterhouse. When they cut the animal down, every one of them's got to be different because there's different people cutting it. So you just have to try to do the best you can, getting all the fat off. But you don't want to take all the fat, because the fat's what gives it the flavor. And especially on the roast end, you want to leave like a lot of fat on here, because you're going to be cooking it. And most of the time, like a roast, you're going to put it in a crock pot, or even making pulled pork or something. So you want the fat in it. Now, I'm using a serrated knife from my knife set. I'm not using my regular butcher knife. That's why I'm sawing at it, because it's not smooth, it's serrated. But I recommend using a straight edge butcher knife. Serrated ones aren't that good. Right here is a better example of it, of the roast end. It'll have red the whole way up around, and if I keep cutting steaks out of it, pork chops, it'll eventually, the whole inside of it, the whole middle of it will all be that bright red color. So another thing you can do with the rib end here, that's what the roast end, the rib end, same difference. You can put it up like this, cut it in half, split it open, then you can slice down each side of it, and you can make country style pork ribs, boneless, and they're very good too. But I'm going to leave the roast here for now and just cut the rest of the pork chops out. But I'm going to cut the fat off the top of it first. As best I can. A whole lot of fat. And some of that's really, really thick. I wish I could go to the doctor and just have them cut my belly open and just take fat off this easy. See, there wouldn't be as many fat people walking around if it was that easy. But if your body would lose fat that fast, like, you would get very, very sick. So the body isn't meant to lose weight that fast. I'm going back on my diet here in a few days, 1st of August. And last year I lost 80 pounds. I wanted to lose 100 to 110 pounds, but well, I got pretty depressed and I gained 50, 60 pounds back. So I'm not where I started at, but I'm very close to my heaviest weight ever. So I'm going back on my diet. Now in the store, I like to try to take my time and get this all in one piece, like a big, like you're skinning the animal. Get all the fat off in one big piece, but that's hard to do when I'm trying to make a video. So let's see here. Just got a little bit here yet. See that fat there? That's almost an inch thick. Maybe even more than an inch. But got the top of it pretty well cleaned off. Now, just slice it. You can do as thick as you want. You can do a half inch, you can do 3/4 inch, you can do a full inch. You can even do 2 inches or more for thick cut pork chops, and you can slit a hole in the middle of it, put stuffing or macaroni and cheese inside of it and cook it, and be really good. But here's another hunk of fat. But most common that you'd find in the grocery store in the prepackaged ones would be about 3/4 of an inch. So let's do that. The fat's getting the knife all slippery. We gotta cut this in half first, that way a little bit more manageable. Now, the average thumb is about an inch. Could be a little more or less, but you want to do a little thinner than your thumb. So now, we would never use a serrated knife in the meat department or butcher shop. You want to use a straight blade and just put the knife right down into it and just slide right through. Very smooth. You don't want to saw, but that's a good looking pork chop right there. Very clean, about 3/4 of an inch. Let's do some more. And the tail here is the best part. The boneless pork chop like this is the ribeye of the pig. Like on a ribeye steak on a pig is the pork chop. And I'm gonna pack these up in about maybe 4 or 6 of them in a pack. Just in a freezer or Ziploc bag. Because the average pack you'd get at the store has about 4 to 8 in them. But we wouldn't really eat 8 of them at a time. Unless we were having like a big party or something. But just keep the loin straight. Hold on to it, but keep your fingers back away from the knife, because you can cut yourself. You can take the tip of your finger off. You don't want to do that. If you have gloves, if you have like rubber gloves, wear rubber gloves when you do it. If you have cut gloves, do it. I don't like wearing cut gloves, but I've had to at a few of the places I've worked at. They require you to. I think it should be up to the cutter themselves. if they feel they need to wear one. But if you're afraid of the knife, if you're afraid of it, you shouldn't be using it. Because if you're afraid of it, then you are going to cut yourself. But gloves will help you with traction too, and keeping the hold of it better. Like this is really slick right now, trying to hold on to it. It's a real pain. But let's see. Then on the end, you might have some little tiny ones, but they're still good. So I got that half. I'm gonna cut this half up now. And of course, you could use the entire loin for a roast if you want. You could use the entire loin. You could take a pork chop. You could take 2 pork chops, put them in the crock pot, slow cooker, make pulled pork. You cook them long enough, they're just gonna fall apart, fall right apart. Stir it up, making pulled pork, put barbecue sauce, hot sauce in there. You can do that with, like, say this loin right here. Even though this is not the rib end, it is not the premium roast part like this would be because of the red, you could still use this as a roast. Be perfectly fine. It just wouldn't be as juicy and tender as the rib end of it. Let's cut the rest of these. Now, like I said, I've cut thousands of these, and I could do a whole loin like this in less than a minute. I'm just showing you here how to do it, and it's a lot easier when you're in a meat room and you have the whole big table and you have better equipment and it's cold in there and the meat ain't getting warm and sticky and gooey. I get 68 in here, but in a good meat room, it'd be in the 40s, maybe 50s. That helps keep the meat firmer, because when meat gets hot, it gets loose and floppy and hard to cut. But when it's cold, it's like it just stiffens up. See, here would be a good example of a thick cut pork chop. It was the last of the ones I cut there, and right there in the belly of it, you could slit that. Just be very, very careful when you do it. Don't do it like I just did it, because you can cut your palm open really bad if you go too deep. But like the best way you could do it, like just set it down like that and put your hand firmly on the top of it and the knife right in the middle of it, but don't go the whole way through the back of it. Just open it enough that it has that slit in it there. Then you can stuff it. You can put macaroni and cheese or stuffing or whatever cheese in it. Then you could get some butcher twine and tie it shut. And then cook it, bake it, however you want to do it. Now, a very big seller at the grocery stores is thin cut boneless chops. I don't like them. A lot of people do. They are very big sellers because they're lighter weight. So, but lighter weight, you're getting less meat. So it's less money, but it's less meat too. But I do not like cutting them. They're just a big pain. But I'm going to take this roast and I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to make country style ribs out of one end of it and roast into the other end of it. So get it sitting on its belly like that. Just take the knife, cut straight down the middle. Then here you can see in the rib end how like it's red the whole way through there. Now I'm going to save this smaller half of it for a roast. Then the bigger half I'm going to cut into boneless country style ribs. The best way to do that is lay it flat on its back. And some places will tell you one way, other places will tell you a different way. It's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. What I do, the way I was originally taught, is like this. Don't cut the whole way through, but cut 90% through. Just about give an inch or so between every cut. That way it's all still together in one piece, but you have right here. So it's like a rack of ribs that you cut the bone out of, because the ribs are connected right onto the back of the pork loin here. Like, that's why they call this the rib end, because the pork ribs are right on the back of this. So it's essentially the same meat as a rack of ribs. And this is one of my favorite cuts. Just put it on the grill or put it in the oven or however you want to cook it, and barbecue sauce, and very, very good, very tender. You can cut it with a spoon. All right. And I apologize for the angle I was at, but I don't have a stand to hold the camera up, so just propping it up against that is the best I can do at the moment. It gets the job done. Now here's what we're left with. The roast, country style ribs, pork chops. And see how much all this would be at the store separately. The roast would probably be close to $10. Country spare ribs probably be close to $10. And all them pork chops, that'd probably be close to $30, $40. I'm gonna get them all bagged up now for you. Alright, got everything all bagged up. The roast, country style spare ribs, and 5 packs of pork chops. With 4 pork chops in each bag, 5 in the last bag. So let's see, how many meals is that? 5, 6, 7. You get 7 meals for $33. Now remember, that whole pork loin was $33, and you get 7 meals out of it. Plus probably some leftovers with some of it. So that's not a bad deal. If you have a knife at home and you're not afraid to make a little bit of a mess, and you have a cutting board, buying a whole pork loin will save you a lot of money than buying individual packs of pork chops or roasts. Now you could do the same with a bone-in loin, but you would need a saw for that. Whether it be a table saw, a hand saw wouldn't really work that well, but a table saw or even a sawzall, reciprocating saw with a bone blade in it, that would work, but it wouldn't work for the very ends of it. The first couple of them, the last one, you might cut yourself. So I'd suggest, if you don't have the proper equipment and training, don't try doing the bone-in ones at home. But you can get a boneless loin and cut it yourself at home very easy. And you can do that with not just pork. You can do that with beef, with lamb, any meat you can get a big boneless loin of. Like, you can buy ribeyes and T-bone, not T-bone, I'm sorry, ribeyes and New York strip. T-bone have bones in them. But ribeyes and New York strip and any kind else, if you can buy the boneless loin, you can cut them at home the same way. But they're a little bit more expensive. A big boneless ribeye would be about $200 for the whole loin, compared to $30 for boneless pork loin. But thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, tip. Have a great day.